Uganda.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Welcome back from the weekend. I'm hoping that you had a great one, because I did. And my prayer is always that our viewers also have a beautiful time over the weekend, but overall a good time, because what is life if you cannot relax and have a good time? What is life if you have to be stressed every single day? So if you ask me, every morning I wish for you to have a good day, to have a good week, especially now that we are also into a new month. A new month, by the way, that comes with great tidings, especially for Uganda Airlines, which will start its Mumbai route this very week on the 7th of October. So good things are in for the national carrier, and we are here for it. We are excited because this means it's going to balance out trade between Uganda and India, and I'm here for it. But anyway, away from that, this is the day that the Lord has made, so we are going to rejoice and be glad in it by giving you insights and top stories that we have gathered this morning. But before we jump into that, I would like to check on the team and see if they're okay, and I will start with the gentleman right on my left. Good morning, Robert.
A lovely morning to you, and of course our viewers. Hope you guys are fine, and I hope you enjoyed the weekend, because I did actually enjoy myself. Yeah, I enjoyed the weekend.
But you don't sound like you enjoyed the weekend. What happened?
Well,
I
got a bit of flu and cough. You know, I was under domestic tourism. Last weekend we were in Jinja City in very huge numbers, and we toured a number of places there. But you people, Jinja City is well planned and organized.
That's true.
Well planned and organized. Even in the remote bit of it, the roads are still okay. You see, the developments are planned, though it has very old buildings that still belong. I think the Indians dominated so much there. But there was this funny scenario, and I felt pity for Uganda police. A patrol followed us for some distance, because they said we were many, and there's slight of sound pollution according to the bikes we had. But then later they said, Katubaleke mutufunire yetano. I was like, how can you follow people for about a mile?
Wasting fuel,
government
and time,
fuel, and
only to ask for 50,000.
And then you take a bribe of 50,000.
Was it even necessary? Were you guys in the wrong? Did you need to pay for anything?
I think they just needed money. So I said, you know, we know they are well fed. Let's just go. But I found it, government fuel. A full patrol has a driver and someone seated, then three. I said.
And all of that is wasted on something that is not even necessary. Well, it is sad, and of course the IGG the other week came out with a report saying that among the most corrupt government agencies, police is among the top 2. So I'm not really surprised that that happened to you when you are, in Jinja over the weekend. But now I would like to go to the extreme end and check on the other lady on the team. Good morning, Chantal.
Good morning, Olive. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
You look lovely this
Morning. Thank you. You too.
Thank you very much. I had a very wonderful weekend. I decided to check out my area and see if I could have, if there are services that are extended into my area so that I don't have to cross over to the other side of town. I landed on a particular place. I may not mention the name of the spa and everything, but it's on a Marina Mall. Those who are in Chanjano. And I got a very good service that is also, for those that know the place, it's not congested. It's more corporate, and I think it was the highlight of my weekend because I got what I would have moved for like 30, 20 or 40 minutes to the other side of town. And I was very impressed by the fact that even people cross over from Mintebe side to come this end, so I definitely have to keep to. The results were really, really great, and I definitely have to go back. So I had a wonderful weekend. I'm thinking of making this a habit every weekend to check out that place.
Oh, wow. I like that. I like the plan, especially now that the year is about to end. Yes. There is something about the last 3 months of the year. We'd be excited, and for some reason, if you have some money on you, spending is not really a problem. So the service industry is always in things around this time of the year. And of course, the more you people support the service industry, the more you're building this country. So always
about convenience. Talk about convenience.
Yes.
For me, the highlight for me was the fact that it's convenient, and the fact that service providers and maybe people in the product industry need to extend some of these things closer to the people so that you don't have to move to the CBD to get what you're looking for, yet you can get it in your area. So that is the highlight for me.
I actually like that. Actually, for instance, look at supermarkets and the way they have extended to the suburbs, where back in the day you had to get some unique products from ShopRite downtown. But now you don't have to, because there is a neighborhood supermarket that has everything
that you're looking for. Yes.
And that business is thriving because people want services brought to them as close as possible. I like that. But anyway, Sonko, you're very quiet this morning. You're usually the highlight of our Mondays. Quiet. How was your weekend?
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
And good morning to all our dear viewers from wherever you're catching us from. Well, I kind of had many highlights for the weekend. One, there was a discussion I was following on social media, on the X app, which was relating to marriage and why young women look out for men who are older than them. And everybody had different submissions. That was on Sunday, yesterday, whereby some young men were saying women our age do not want to have any relationship situation with us simply because we are not well off financially, and so they are looking at men who are older who have financially made it. Then, well, on the other hand, the men who are 30 years and above were actually saying there is no reason as to why they are falling for a 23-year-old campus girl because of her personality. It's just simple business, and they leave them there.
Hey, wow.
So the conversation was really, was really striking. And then besides that, the other highlight for me, I'm a resident in Chirinya, that is Boyogerere. I've come to realize we do in that particular area, for people who stay around Chireka, Boyogerere, Bukasa, there is a lot of, I don't know how I can even put it, the mosquitoes have become a very serious issue there. And regardless of whether you have a mosquito net, I want to believe maybe it's because of the fact that we are close by the Namave wetland and something like that maybe. But trust me, it is something that is that has caught my attention.
Maybe it is becoming a point of concern actually, where the authorities and maybe the Ministry of Health could look into it, because if a certain area is grappling with the issue of mosquitoes, then you think about the dangers of malaria. Yes, and this is what we've been fighting for so many years.
You know what has come to my mind? As we celebrate 61 years of Uganda's independence, because we are in October, when we are going to be celebrating our independence.
Actually, days away from our independence.
When you listen to Sonko, women and all that, at 60, and then at 61, Uganda at 61, we are grappling with mosquitoes, where in the colonial days, many would die of malaria actually, because we didn't have these treatments, but now we have treatment. The only thing, I don't know if they can develop a malaria vaccine so that people
actually
get
it is under works. It is under works in the, and it has been tested in some
malaria
countries.
kills more people than COVID has ever killed, more people than HIV has ever killed. It kills a lot of people in Uganda. It could be even our #1 killer disease in Uganda. But because you can get some tabs and go over it, we don't give it so much proximity. I last remember when you had the issue of DDT, where the likes of Ken Luchamuzi came up so much. But finally, we had the indoor residual spray. So if you people can get that indoor residual spray of DDT in your area, maybe it would help.
Well, it was at one point marked dangerous for, you know, for soil as well, among other things. That is why there was, that is why there was action against it. But there is ways of controlling. Let's first work on our environment and stuff like that. Then maybe, but also, like I said in the report, climate report, as we will be seeing, it is due to climate change that we are actually seeing an increase in mosquitoes. The details will be in the report.
All right, speaking of the details, this is the hour, this is the point where we delve into the local news stories.
And we'll begin with President Museveni, who has assured the Algerian investors that Uganda is ready to cooperate with them in boosting trade and investment in the two countries that have had a long-standing relationship since 1960s. The president was meeting with a delegation from Algeria headed by their Minister of Trade and Export Promotion, Taibu Zaitouni, at Nakasero State Lodge. A high-powered Algerian delegation, which included investors in energy, agriculture, processing, medicine and pharmaceuticals, paper recycling and packaging, and irrigation solutions, among others, also discussed solutions to potential challenges that would affect trade relations of the two countries. President Museveni noted that the complementarity between East Africa, North Africa, and Middle East is something they noticed from the very beginning since 1960s through their leaders at that time, like Julius Nyerere of Tanzania. He added that Uganda and East Africa have everything needed to trade with others, especially fresh agricultural products.
And moving on, the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Mrs. Janet Kataha Museveni, has welcomed UNICEF's new regional director for East and Southern Africa, Ms. Etleva Kadili, who was on a mission to Uganda to familiarize with the UNICEF-supported programs in the country. The First Lady hosted the UNICEF regional director, who was accompanied by the UNICEF country representative to Uganda, Dr. Munil Safiuddin, and other officials from the UNICEF Uganda office at the State House in Nakasero. The First Lady lauded the great working relationship between Uganda and UNICEF over the years, and especially appreciated UNICEF for the many programs that it has supported in the education sector.
And moving on, Nebbi Catholic Diocese requires at least 3.8 billion to organize the 2024 National Matters Day celebrations at Namugongo. The Episcopal Conference of Uganda selected Nebbi Diocese to handle this year's celebrations for the second time in 16 years. In 2007, the diocese took charge of the Matters Day celebrations for the first time, following its separation from the Arua Diocese.
And finally, on the local scene, Forum for Democratic Change Party President Engineer Oboy Amuriat has urged the recently elected party delegates in the Bunyoro region to actively participate in the forthcoming National Delegates Conference for the election of the National Executive Committee. This call to action took place during Engineer Amuriat's visit to Hoima City, where he met with some of the newly elected delegates. He encouraged them to engage in the process of electing members to the party's National Executive Committee.
Away from that, internationally, at least 13 people have died in a fire that engulfed 3 nightclubs in the southeastern Spanish city of Murcia. The blaze broke out in the Fonda Milagros nightclub, known as La Fonda, early on Sunday morning. It then spread to neighboring clubs as patrons rushed to escape the packed dance floors, police said. Local media reported that family members celebrating a birthday were among the dead. One of the birthday party attendees, who was at the club with his cousins and aunt, said he returned home during the chaos only to be told that one of his cousins had not left, and this is according to a local newspaper. It is not clear if the cousin was among those who were confirmed dead. Away from that, United States President Joe Biden says aid to Ukraine will keep flowing for now as he seeks to reassure allies of continued support for the war effort. But time is running out, the president said on Sunday in a warning to Congress, which has voted to avert a government shutdown by passing a short-term funding package that dropped assistance for Ukraine in the fight against Russia. We cannot, under any circumstances, allow American support for Ukraine to be interrupted, Biden said. We have time, not much time, and there is an overwhelming sense of urgency, he said, noting that the funding bill lasts only until mid-November. Biden urged the Congress to negotiate an aid package as soon as possible. And in Gabon, Sylvia Bongo Ondimba Valentin, who is Franco-Gabonese and one of the couple's sons, have been accused by the coup leader of having pulled the strings in the oil-rich country. Their eldest son, Noureddin Bongo Valentin, has already been charged with corruption and embezzling public funds with several former cabinet members and 2 ex-ministers. Sylvia Bongo was charged by an investigating judge on Thursday and ordered to remain under house arrest, Andre Patrick announced on state TV channels. She also faces other charges including concealment and forgery, he said. Sylvia Bongo has been under house arrest in the capital, Libreville, since the August 30th coup brought the curtain down on the 55-year-old Bongo dynasty rule. And speaking matters climate, mosquitoes could be the sole species to be benefiting from climate change as the warmer and wetter weather that comes with global warming makes for their ideal environment. Thanks to this, the insects are growing bigger and living longer, increasing their ability to pick up and spread potentially deadly diseases. Bites from the blood-sucking bugs are more than just an annoyance. Different species can carry infectious diseases including dengue fever, Zika virus, yellow fever, chikungunya virus, malaria, and West Nile virus that they pick up from one person and pass it to the next. Mosquito-borne disease experts are concerned that as global temperatures continue to rise, warmer, more humid weather will become a norm in the new places, making those locations the perfect breeding grounds for the mosquito population to flourish. That is it for climate news and what is happening on the international scene.
I think there is no time than this one for us to actually care now about climate change, because if mosquitoes are becoming the rage years and decades after we put efforts, concerted efforts to fighting them, especially here in Uganda, then this is a reason for us all to care about the message that is spread about climate change and do whatever is humanly possible to ensure that we are safe. But that being said, Sonko now takes us through the press review.
Well, with the press review, the new vision highlights Cabinet approves more PDM funds. Each beneficiary will now get 1 million Ugandan shillings, according to this new particular approval from the Cabinet, as more money is released by government. Now, why President Museveni wants cap on moneylenders' interest rate, more of the same with the new vision today, as collapse of Tycoon's wall fence prompts inquiry. There's a pictorial of that particular fence that collapsed onto the neighbors. Then Uganda at 61 years, how the KDB found its way on coat of arms. More of the same is how the COB rather found its way on the coat of arms. More of the same with the new vision today. Now the Daily Monitor, how the Uganda Wildlife Authority officials ate gorilla billions. More of the same report in the Daily Monitor. Now Congolese star Fally Ipupa takes Uganda by storm. Still more of the same with the Daily Monitor. Public hospitals have been warned against post-mortem fees as controversy followed Dr. Chiyingi to death, according to what the Daily Monitor is showing. And then lastly, stop advertising DNA services, the government warns. More of the press review will definitely be coming in the second hour of the show.
Thank you so much, Sonko, for the press review. We will now take a short break, leave you with the inspiration song of the day. And when we come back, we will be talking matters motor vehicle inspection.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good. Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Welcome back from the weekend. I'm hoping that you had a great one, because I did. And my prayer is always that our viewers also have a beautiful time over the weekend, but overall a good time, because what is life if you cannot relax and have a good time? So we are going to rejoice and be glad in it by giving you insights and top stories that we have gathered this morning. But before we jump into that, I would like to check on the team and see if they're okay. And I will start with the gentleman right on my left. Good morning, Robert.
A lovely morning to you and of course our viewers. Hope you guys are fine and I hope you enjoyed the weekend, because I did actually enjoy myself. Yeah, I enjoyed the weekend.
But you don't sound like you enjoyed the weekend. What happened?
Well,
Are these results?
I got a bit of flu and cough. You know, I was under domestic tourism. Last weekend we were in Jinja City in very huge numbers and we toured a number of places there. But you people, Jinja City is well planned and organized.
That's true.
Well planned and organized. Even in the remote bit of it, the roads are still okay. You see the developments are planned, though it has very old buildings that still belong. I think the Indians dominated so much there. But there was this funny scenario and I felt pity for Uganda police. A patrol followed us for some distance because they said we were many and there's slight of sound pollution according to the bikes we had. But then later they said, Katubaleke mutufunire yeta. I was like, how can you follow people for about a mile?
Wasting fuel,
government
and time,
fuel, and
only
time.
to ask for 50,000.
And then you take a bribe of 50,000.
Was it even necessary? Were you guys in the wrong? Did you need to pay for anything?
I think they just needed money. So I said, you know, we know they are well fed. Let's just go. But I found it government fuel. A full patrol has a driver and someone seated, then three.
See their incomes getting better. Some of them are into tailoring, others into mechanics, into carpentry, they are dressing, mention it. And so far, they are running their enterprises smoothly.
What
What's the best kind of business to invest in? One that connects Ugandans border to border with a high-speed broadband 4G and is the first to launch 5G? What about one of the largest corporate income taxpayers in our country? Oh, the fastest growing telecom in the last 5 years. Wow! Well, here's a chance to invest in it all. Take part in Airtel's initial public offering today for as little as 100 Ugandan shillings per share. Remember, a retail investor gets 5 incentive shares for every 100 they buy and 6 incentive shares if they purchase using Airtel Money. Dial star 185 star 85 hash now to get started.
Mukoke Fish Farmers Association tuli balunzi ba byananda ebyebika ebisatu omuli Miracap, tilapia oba engege ni catfish tetwete male. Group eno twatandika twali abantu basatu nga tulingirira obwetaavu obwebyenanda obw'obwivwa eno okubona nti tufuna okasente akava mu maadi agali gatambula butambule nga gatubita ku wano ng'ekirabo. Twatandika ni fish pond ndala mu mwaka gw'e2018. Twebaza fisheries officer ni district ya Bugiri babanga batulagirira ku Sun Fish Farm ebwikwe ni side day ndeyo twabanga tusobola okufuna kwetusaako obugege obwasooka era mu mwaka ogwali 2020 awo basobola okubanga batuwaayo ebyenanda emitwalo $40 okuva mu operation Werese Creation era okuba yongerezaako emmere yatuweebwa okuva Uganda Poultry Breeders. Twasobola okubanga tusoloza akasente akawerera obukayire nga 42. Twasobola okubanga tubuinvestinga oba okubona nti twongerezaako ku bimu ku bintu bye tukola gano. Twebaza gavumenti yaife okubanga buli saawa efaayo okubanga efe eri Abannayuganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for keeping it Good Morning Uganda on UBC, the national broadcaster. By the way, we are turning 60 this week as UBC and Uganda turns 61 since we got our independence. So thank you so much for watching Uganda Broadcasting Corporation right from the time it was Uganda Television and listening to it when it was still Uganda, what was that? Radio Uganda. And now here we are with so many channels under UBC. There is Magic TV, there is UBC, this one that you're watching right now, there is Star TV, and of course we have so many radio channels. So if anything, entertainment, information, you're going to always find these under UBC because we have so much for you. We come to you in over 20 languages. Imagine that. There is no other place that can give you the sort of information that we give you, plus entertainment. But that being said, today, like I said earlier, if you're just joining us, thank you so much. My name is Olive Monica Najama, and I am joined by Chantal Olive Akandinda, and of course, JP Live, that is a Jerome Paul Sonko. And today, we are delving into something that has sent tags wagging. Car dealers and of course Ugandans importing cars are not excited about a new move by the Uganda National Bureau of Standards that informed exporters, importers and dealers of used motor vehicles that effective November, all vehicles destined for Uganda will have to undergo pre-export verification of conformity before being shipped into the country. Now, the first question we are asking this morning, is this move justifiable?
Oh, yes, it is. How justifiable? Let me explain.
Okay.
When you look at the reason as to why the Uganda National Bureau of Standards is coming in here, we all know the UNBA stands in for standard checking in the country.
Yes.
So it is, its duty is also to confirm that this, the standards of goods that are being brought into the country, or those that are being manufactured in the country, are health-wise okay for consumers, and as well meet the standards that are highly acceptable in our country, according to what we do have as our standard SCAP. Now, when you look at the vehicles that we do have, when you look at the nature of vehicles that are being imported into the country, when we do remember in 2018 when government passed, you know, did actually pass that no vehicle should enter into the country past 15 years.
Yes.
So those 15 years of its manufacturing date. That is because of the fact that they were trying to control air pollution, sound pollution, you know, also getting rid of vehicles that are worn out, being on our roads and everything. Lots of things were attached to the same. So again, when you look at this one being justifiable, is government wants to make sure that if the vehicles we are bringing into the country, first of all, with the fact that, again, we are also trying to address climate change, you want to see, is it roadworthy, first of all, as a vehicle? Because we've seen quite a number of vehicles in this country that look worn out even after, you know, being brought into the country a month ago.
You see a car with a new number plate, but it looks old.
It looks really old, and it's already on the road operating. And sadly, these are the same vehicles that don't even last for 2 years if someone is driving them. So it is a justifiable move, I want to believe, and it's also going to put an end to the car dealers from bringing in lots of these particular cheaper vehicles.
Is the problem cheaper vehicles, or the problem is the roadworthiness, like you said? Because
no, you see, when you ask
are we attaching price to how roadworthy the car is?
No, yes we are, because the reason as to why, when you ask the car dealers as to why they bring in all these vehicles, quite often is because they will say they come at a cheaper price, and that is what many Ugandans will be able to afford. That's why they go in for those vehicles.
For the cheaper ones.
Yeah. So at the end of it all, you get to realize that these vehicles have an implication in the long run on what we do have on our roads.
But let's talk about the pricing for a bit. I believe, I for one, and I stand to be corrected, that Ugandans go for cheaper cars because of the taxes. You can order for a car from Japan, and it can even cost you $1,000 to get it here. But then the taxes you're going to pay at the point of entry are going to make that car thrice as expensive. So maybe, I don't know, I can't say that we reduce taxes because that is what the government, you know, feeds from, but at the same time, if your taxes are so high, you're going to face problems like this.
Yeah, and now you realize why, again, I stand back to my cheaper element. Because the reason as to why we are not going to import more vehicles that were, for example, manufactured last year or 2020 is
they're
because
extremely expensive if you're
so then we are going back
here
to vehicles that are 15 years, 8 years, of which the government is putting an end to most of these vehicles. So at the end of it all...
So what is the alternative solution?
For this, the alternative solution,
if you say
again,
you don't
is maybe on the taxes. That would be the very first alternative. Reason being, these car importers or car dealers get into importing these vehicles at a cheaper, because they believe they won't be, you know, the taxes won't make it difficult for them to gain their money back. Because if you bring in more vehicles and the taxes hit you, remember you're going to put the vehicles into the bond. You don't know how many customers or clients you're going to get in this 1 year. So if you have all these vehicles stuck in there and you're not making money, it becomes, you know, you're then doing no business. That's why they go for cheaper options, which they know Ugandans will definitely buy.
Okay, Chantal is burning.
Yes, you know, my challenge right now with this idea, it's a very brilliant idea because it's well intended for the good of the Ugandans. Let's have good cars on the road and stuff like that. But please do note that you're not going to wake up in the morning and impose something like this, $140 on Ugandans, that one, they had not planned for, that two, you had not communicated prior. Now this is, I mean, this is stretching all the way to November for all the cars that are already in the country. You understand? Now, why didn't we employ this way before these cars came in? Or why do we have to do it at this particular point when we can go back and plan better and you know, go through the proper implementation process of such an idea? Because you're not going to tell me that when I'm charged $140 as a car dealer, I'm not going to put that cost on you. If you're coming to buy a car from me, I'm going to incorporate that cost. Where does that leave the consumer? Where does that leave a Ugandan who was looking forward to purchasing a car? And meanwhile, who is supposed to be responsible for the PVOC, the one that should be happening before the car is brought into the country? That's not my role. That's not your role.
Also, the other question to highlight here is, okay, there is this PVOC under $140, but the question is it actually coming into the country, or we are going to use companies that are not even under Uganda to do this inspection?
The $140 as of now is going to be for the cars that are already imported and are in the country. Then going forward, after 1st November, the cars will have to undergo a check before they are imported into the country.
Now,
meaning that
where
money
is this money going?
By
Is
the
it
way,
the
coming
country
back
is what?
to?
No, it's not coming back here because the checks are done the other side.
The 140.
No. The
There
PVOC.
will be yes.
Yes, because now PVOC has to happen before the car is imported. So that check is going to be done in the different countries from which we import. That is Japan, South Africa, Singapore, name it. So the PVOC is done that side, so that by the time you get to the country, you don't have to pay the $140.
Also, the Uganda National Bureau of Standards contracts companies of countries where these vehicles are coming from.
Yes.
Japan, and it's
South
actually
Africa.
said, South Africa, that these vehicles are supposed to, you know, have a value of more than, they have to inspect goods which have a value of more than $2,000. So that is approximately vehicles that are, or let's say goods that are 7.5 million going upwards.
Count 8
you know, 8
and
million
above.
and above. So these are goods that are supposed to be that are supposed to also be inspected from the country of origin.
Yes.
And at the same level, once these goods are being inspected, before they come in, you're paying $140. These car dealers are paying $140 from the other countries for this inspection that is coming in.
So what this means is that the cars that are already
Here.
expensive are becoming even more expensive because we are adding all these small charges.
Yes,
onto
definitely,
them.
definitely. And that leaves the question, how favorable is this for the consumer? If you're telling, okay, like I said, the whole idea is well intended. You don't want to import a car that is not roadworthy. But then again, is the $140, the $140 is
for the ones that are already in the
country?
Will
Who
that
was
change whether
responsible?
or not the car is roadworthy?
Thank you. Are you going to take them back? Are you going to destroy them? Also, who was responsible for this check in the first place that the Ugandans are going to be paying a price for? That is the other question. Because at the end of the day, if it's not my fault as a car dealer, not my fault as the one who's going to purchase the car, then I believe that should be worked out in the background by UNBS.
So in the past, UNBS relied on service providers like It's Africa Automobile, Jabal Kilimanjaro Auto Mech, and Japan Export Vehicle Inspection Center. And all of these companies, their contracts expired in 2018. Now, the question is, this seems to be being done in haste, but do we even know who the new service providers are?
In the moment, we don't know who the new service providers
but the dates
are.
have been set yet already.
Between 20.
Yes, we don't have the information yet of who the new service providers are. But what UNBS says, they're going to be, your vehicle that you're importing has to undergo PVOC with UNBS approved PVOC service providers prior to importation into the country.
And these are the service providers we don't know yet, but yet we have dates. We have that from September to this date, from November to this date.
Yes.
But So you cannot say, this is what you're going to do around this time, but I don't know where you've not mentioned where people are supposed to go, because this is the same thing that happened in the past. You come out with a directive, we are going to do this, we are going to inspect vehicles, and then the price is already very high, and you've not named the service providers. There is a lot of disorganization, which brings me to the other question, why the haste?
Haste in relation to?
As in, why is this being done very fast?
Very fast.
Yes.
No, we've had series of the same since 2018, moving to 2021. But the only challenge there was URA and UNBS. Now, the car dealers have always been facing this issue, whereby you're getting the pre-export verification of conformity from UNBS. Then you're supposed to also have a certificate of conformity, because these are all, things you're supposed to be having, or documents with you. And in most cases, some of these car dealers tend to, clear up with UNBS, and then they forget to clear up with Uganda Revenue Authority. So after that, once the goods are within, let's say, the country, URA has less records on them. So at the end of it all, you cannot sell. Simply because only UNBS has given you a quality mark or anything. You have to clear also with the Uganda Revenue Authority. So with time, this has actually brought in a conflict of what you could actually say, some conflict in here in one way or the other, whereby some of the car dealers feel, if I've cleared with the Uganda Revenue Authority, for example, then that means my good or my goods are of good standard. But then also remember, with the Uganda Revenue Authority, in most cases, theirs is majorly to look at the taxes. They're looking at how much they can get from that particular vehicle that has been imported, and then the VAT and all the related taxes that are supposed to be coming into. And then Uganda National Bureau of Standards, on the other hand, is focusing on the standard of the good that is coming in. So this particular time frame is, I think, is something that is to put the car dealers in check, because like I've mentioned, we had the same scenario in 2018. We then moved further around 2021, where UNBS went back again to crack down the same issue. It didn't last for long, but then now this comes in at a time, one could actually say 1 month is really less, because we do have some of the car dealers who have already imported in their vehicles,
cars, yes.
So it is really going to become difficult for them. But I think it may, if UNBS would suggest that it starts working on the vehicles that are coming in, that are actually being ordered for, and then these ones should be given an extensive, the ones that are already in the country, should be given an extensive period to have their inspections done, so that at least the car dealers can actually work on the other vehicles that are being imported.
Okay.
So I want to believe it is a short time, but if you're to look at the vehicles that are coming into the country, it is a good time.
It's a good time.
It's a good time for the vehicles that are yet to come.
Okay, now that you insist that it is actually a good time, do you really think, because we have several bonds already in the country, do you really think that the period provided will be enough to check all of these cars?
No, I think it will be enough for vehicles that are yet to be imported.
And then the ones that are already in.
The ones that are already in, I feel it's still less time.
Yes.
Because I don't believe even UNBS will be able to complete the inspection.
Going back to the fact that we don't even know who the service providers are.
Well, there is according to the UNBS, there is about 6 service providers that were put forward, including one HQTS.
Then there is also SGS as well.
Yes, there are about 6 that have been approved for these inspections. But before we get to that, my question in this case is, how did these cars get into the country, the ones that have to be inspected and we pay $140? How did they get into the country without the inspections? Also, do note that this is not the first time a regulation like this has been put in place of cars that are 15 years and below shouldn't be imported into the country. So why then do we have these inspections being put in place? Haven't they been there before? If they've been there before, where is the gap that we are trying to fill? Ideally, what I thought would be these inspections now shifting from happening when the car is already here to happening when they are the pivot part when they are being imported before they leave the country. That should be the ideal. But now you've waited for the cars, they are already here, and now you're checking from here, and you're telling someone pay $140. That is not the role of me, the consumer, or even me, the what? The what are they called? The car dealer. It's not supposed to be. Yes, I'm supposed to adhere to the regulations put in place. I can't import a car that is 15 years and below. But then if it has reached the border, it's already in the country, and you didn't put those checks in the first place, it is not going to be my problem. You're imposing a cost on this car dealer, which is going to lead to more costs
on the already highly priced vehicles.
Already highly priced vehicles. That means even some of the other services could actually be more expensive. Because imagine I'm importing a drone for taxi. What's that going to mean? What does that mean for my business? What does that mean maybe for my family? So it stretches across all these other areas. It's not just put on the car itself. And the move is good, but if we are transitioning to the checks being done before the cars are brought into the country,
so
let's just swallow.
Incorporate everything into one.
Thank you. Let's just swallow and allow that these ones are already here.
Anyway, before Sonka, I know you're burning to say something, but before that, I would like to invite you, our viewer, to share your views on the current development by the Uganda National Bureau of Standards to impose a mandatory vehicle inspection. And if you would like to share your views, the WhatsApp number is 0709 602 and if you are on the X app, the hashtag is UBCGMU, and again we are asking you to share your views on the current development by UNBS to impose a mandatory vehicle inspection, to impose mandatory vehicle inspection. And please share your views. We'd like to hear from you, because your views are what helps us and the government to make certain decisions and, you know, change certain policies. So it's always important that you air your views to us. Now, going back, Sonko, you had something to say.
Well, I'm going back to what Chantal was putting across, that it's likely to, or it's going to really affect the consumers, because once the dealer is having all these taxes to pay, all these fees to clear, he definitely has to increase the price of the vehicles. And again, it takes us back to the reason as to why the Uganda National Bureau of Standards is making all these particular moves. One is to protect the consumers from substandard goods. And then two, there's also an element of the fact that they want to also protect some of the other dealers who are dealing in genuine products, or I won't even say genuine, or those who are actually dealing in most recently manufactured vehicles that are stuck on the market. So it is a win and a loss somewhere for the dealers, and for some of the dealers, and then for some of the some may win, the others may lose out of the same. Now, when it comes to this, to the substandard, when you look at some of the accidents that have as well occurred in the country here, we have some reports of the fact that some of the vehicles that are engaging in such accidents, you get to realize that a vehicle would just get into an accident and it is all mashed up. And it's totally destroyed. A vehicle that has actually been bought, for example, this very year, may engage into an accident and it's actually completely crushed. So when you date back where it was the year of manufacture, you will get to realize that it is actually something to do with 15 years back. However much the government put an end to vehicles coming in 15 years back, you get to realize that there are some dealers who are still bringing in or importing in some of these particular vehicles that are actually even way older than 15 years. And like I did mention, the issue has also been because of the fact that we have a conflict here, a conflict between the UNBS and URA. At the entry point, when a car dealer is bringing in a vehicle, they have to submit in a certificate of conformity, which clearly shows that your vehicle passed through, that is the pre-export verification of conformity. That is from the other side of the country of manufacture, whereby they did the inspection and you pay the $140 for you as the car dealer. Then you come in, then you're given a certificate of conformity, which you're supposed to present at the entry point of the country. But then there is also UNB is asking or calling for a certificate of roadworthiness, especially when it comes to the vehicles, because we do have many vehicles, by the way, and the consumers here will definitely be protected. Like I mentioned how the fact that our vehicles here become a little more expensive because of the taxes, but then you get to realize that, again, those who are the ones that you get at a cheaper is simply because their year of manufacture is way beyond 15 years or way above 10 years. So that means the only way the dealers are going to make money is to sell them at a cheap, because there is literally no other market for them unless you put it into the Ugandan market, where maybe Ugandans will definitely, or those Ugandans who are highly interested in having their own vehicles will buy them. But the major factor here is checking on the substandard goods, because when you look at most of the vehicles we have, they have a very good, exterior, and then you look at the body and you look at the vehicle and it looks very eye-catching, but the sad reality
start
is,
to look at the engine
and everything.
Yes,
you do realize that it's just my father normally uses a word, I'm actually forgetting, where he says that you get to look at the vehicle and you feel like it's just a body. It is just attractive to you, but when you start using the vehicle, the first 2-3 months, you realize it was not.
Because you can actually work on the body. You know, you can spray it, you can do all these things with the body.
And that's what most of the car dealers are doing.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Actually, you buy a car from the bond, which is supposed to be quote unquote new, like not brand new, but new, okay? And it is roadworthy, only for you to go do an examination on the car and find that you now have to add quite a huge amount of money,
yes,
so that your car is now roadworthy. Please note, you've already paid an arm and a leg for this car before you took it out of the bond. Now you're going to incur the cost of working on other mechanical issues that honestly shouldn't even be there in the first place.
I was reading about something in 2021. 80% of used vehicles that were currently exported from the Netherlands to Africa were no longer allowed in about 15 West African countries. And when you go further to get information about this, they will tell you that over 500,000 used passenger vehicles are stuck in these countries. And please do note that these particular vehicles, by the time they are sent, or by the time they stop using them, it's because these cars, they are stopped because of their emission levels. And then over 20,000 of these are exported to Africa. Now, the reason as to why these people stop using them is because of their emission levels.
Yes,
and now they are being exported.
About the carbon footprint.
Thank you.
And now
they are being exported into our African countries. Now, that is the sad bit. But the question is the different pivot points that we are going to be seeing in these countries of origin. Are they going to give us true reports on some of these cars? If I am looking for where to dump these things, am I going to have...
And it looks like we still have the appetite for... I appreciate the part where cars that were, like Sonka's been putting it, cars 15 years and more are not allowed in the country. That's why today you're seeing somewhat newer cars on our roads.
The only ones that exist were there before this regulation was put in place.
Exactly, because back then we had cars of 1998, 1994, 1995 being imported into Uganda. But now we have cars, ideally they're supposed to be cars between 2014, but we still have 2008.
We do have them now because by the time this regulation was put in place, these cars had already been imported.
Some of
they
them
were in the bonds. However,
do we know that to be true? I have a feeling that
that
some
is
of
the
them
report
even
we have.
But anyway, before we continue, I would like to again invite you to be a part of this conversation by sharing your views on the new development by Uganda National Bureau of Standards to have motor vehicles inspected. We'd like for you to share your views on the current development by UNBS to impose a mandatory vehicle inspection. And the WhatsApp number is 0709 602 592. And if you are on the X app, the hashtag is UBCGMU. We have already shared this poll question. We'd like to hear from you on the new development by the UNBS to impose mandatory vehicle inspection. I see some views coming through. I'll get to those in a minute. But before that, I want to first go back to the team. And so this new development by UNBS, doesn't it mean that UNBS has reversed its previous policy of relying on foreign companies for technical assistance in the inspection aspect? Because we know that this will impact the already high price of used vehicles on the Ugandan market.
By the look of things, it seems to be a reversal by the look of things, because if you're telling me you're going to be working with UNBS approved PIVOC service providers prior to importation into Uganda. And now, remember, we import from different countries, like I said, South Africa, Singapore, Japan,
yes,
name it. So that means you have to have all these, these centers in the different countries. We are going back to the same thing. That's why I asked you, are we going to have effectiveness of this idea working? Because you don't know. I'm telling you, this country wants to get where to dump these vehicles. I'll give you a false report. What are you going to do about it? Especially if you don't even have what it takes on your borders to do the check. Please do not
yourself. You're going to depend on other companies by other countries to do the inspection.
Thank you. So if you inspect from the other side, and then when I get to the border here, I don't have to go through the same inspection as the other side, we are losing control as a country.
We could, or we may not, by the way, because if, let's say, you're maybe benching this on probably people being corrupt here, I don't think it may be the same disease, if I may say that, elsewhere. This could actually be a positive move.
It may not be a disease, but look at it from the angle of selfishness. And we have seen some of these countries really selfish when it comes to the products they send into our countries. You will agree with me that you've bought products in the supermarkets and they've written on only for African market. Do you even know what that implies? You get? So at the end of the day, how much trust do we have for these service providers that are going to be put in place to provide services, unless if we are saying, as a country, we are stationing our own people in those places to make sure that these people are the ones who are making sure that the checks are done and done well. If we are leaving it to the service providers, then at the end of the day, we are in trouble because we do not know if they are well-intended or not. We are losing control as a country and as UNBS if we leave it to those service providers.
Again, we would like for you to share your views, and the question here is the current development by UNBS to impose mandatory vehicle inspection. We'd like to know, are you in for this? Is this a good move? Is it justifiable? The WhatsApp number where you can send your view through is 0709 592 0709 602 592. And on the X app, the hashtag is UBCGMU. Now we have some comments coming through, and the first one is from Cricket Derek Gagamel from Makindye, Luafu, and he says, The only advantage I see in that inspection is that it might reduce on the number of vehicles in dangerous mechanical condition. Some imported cars come when they are totally in a sorry state, which increases road accidents and carnage. You find a person driving a total scrap, risking their lives and of course the lives of other road users. But again, we must not forget the fact that we are in the third world country. If that inspection is aimed at ensuring people drive good and good standard cars, then it will limit a number of people from owning cars. As a country, most of our people are not in position to purchase first-hand and posh cars. Our potential is in second-hand cars mostly, so we can't live in denial. Lastly, the question is, why now? I like what Derek is saying, but honestly speaking, in as much as we would like to, own cars as Ugandans, we cannot look the other way when it comes to quality. You'd rather not have a car instead of having a car that puts your life and the life of other road users in jeopardy. So if the rationale is to ensure that we don't have hazardous products on the market, I am in for it, because at the end of the day, when we have all these road accidents and people dying, we still go back to the vehicles, to the quality of the vehicle, to the to the mechanical condition of the vehicle. So why should you buy a car just for the sake of having a car when it is actually putting your life and other people on the road at risk? Anyway, I have another comment from Obiarhanga Nasis from Bara, and he says government just wants to make money, because does this 500K include this 500,000 shillings include repairs or just inspection? Of course,
it's just
it does
inspection.
not.
How would the government repair
it
for
is
you?
Inspection, and you're paying it to URA, and obviously no one is going to pay for repairs for you. That is going to be yours. Just like when you buy a phone, data and airtime is on you. Now this comes in from Muzeika Gatomas of Manyangwa, and he says this is going to be thuggerism of the highest order, double taxation and making Ugandans fools. But anyway, we are getting used to, hey, Muzeika guy, you are tough this morning, but thank you for your view. What he's trying to say is that to him, this is going to be double taxation and thuggerism. And he's like, but we are used to this kind of thing. So thank you so much for your views. Please keep them coming through. Keep them coming through. And before we close, I would like to get your parting shots, Chantal.
My parting shots would be, I think this needs to be thought through a little more, especially on the grounds of implementation, on the grounds of the implication, and not just looking at, it is well intended, yes, but let's look at the broader implications of this very decision that we are about to make, especially on whether we are going to get value from this very regulation.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Sonko.
The time frame for the vehicles is still very, very less. I don't know. But I want to stand with the point that we really need to have a lot of, we need to have goods coming into the country having high standards, simply because at the end of it all, we as the consumers, however much we would want to go for something cheaper, you would as well want to go for something of good quality.
That's true.
Because at the end of it all, it's you who's going to buy this vehicle, so that means it's you who's going to feel
the pinch.
The pinch of how costly it would be if you bought something that is substandard. So at least it is a move that the Uganda National Bureau of Standards is looking at, making sure that you, a consumer, is going to buy something of good standards, so that you enjoy your car money.
Yeah.
So that it's not money that you're going to
implementing the regulation, not imposing some of these things that are unfair to Ugandans.
It's unfair maybe
to come to you at a cost.
At a cost, really.
Yeah.
It may be unfair to the car dealers because of the time frame that was given, but as we look at it in the long run, we shall definitely benefit, we as the consumers.
All right, I will close by reading a few comments. This one says, but they have not availed the country with a company that would run the inspection, hence they're just looking for money. I would like to note that Uganda National Bureau of Standards is actually in the completion stage of having service providers. So within no time, we will know who the actual service providers are. And this is TMZ Man. He says, thanks for the show. My opinion is what UNBS is doing is the right thing to do, and let us please do the needful. And Sam from Kampala says, while I agree the lives we have lost in accidents are too much and unnecessary, but let's be honest with ourselves. The accidents due to DMCs, that is dangerous mechanical condition vehicles, or bad and careless drivers. Why do we deal with this? Thank you so much, Sam. And thank you so much, everyone that has weighed in. The last comment is saying that year of manufacturing has nothing to do with vehicle quality, but how we maintain them. Uganda doesn't manufacture cars, and even the income the citizens have can't make them afford to buy brand new cars. Thank you so much for your views. This is Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Nejuma, and I have been with Chantal Oliver Kandinda and Jerome Paul Sonko, and I can't thank you enough for always being a part of Good Morning Uganda. We will take a short break, and when we come back, we will have the GMU business review and traffic updates later on, agenda, and then sports updates.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Did you know that Sir Walter Fleming Coates was Uganda's final governor before independence? Sir Walter Fleming Coates was born on 30th November 1912 in Aberdeen, Scotland. He was educated at Glasgow Academy, the University of St Andrews and St John's College, Cambridge. He was a British colonial administrator and Uganda's final governor before independence from 1961 to 1962. Sir Walter Fleming Coates approved the Uganda Coat of Arms on 1st October 1962 before they were formally established by law on 9th October. He was also chosen Governor General of Uganda from 1962 to 1963 because he had a reputation within the colonial office for supporting African nationalism and African independence movements. He died on 4th November 1988.
So, you are ready to invest in Airtel's initial public offering? Good choice. I'm going to show you how to do it straight from your phone. First, you're going to want to make sure you have a Securities Central Depository SCD account. Dial *185*85# from your Airtel number. Choose Airtel IPO purchase from the available options. Enter your valid national identification number when prompted. Before you purchase, there are a few things you need to know. The minimum purchase is 2,500 shares. The share price is 100 Uganda shillings. Select the number of shares you wish to purchase. Choose your relevant broker for the purchase. Enter your money PIN to confirm the transaction. Congratulations! You receive a confirmation message of your successful purchase.
Nibanyita kananye niyita Sezi Nwagaba, commercial officer at Ntungamo District Government.
I am Sezi Nwagaba, the commercial officer for Ntungamo Local Government. I express my gratitude to God for this platform and the Emyuga initiative brought to us by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, as it has positively transformed the lives of the people in Ntungamo, whom I have known for a long time. When you visit the beneficiaries of this program, you can easily witness the significant positive changes in their lives. The audit report demonstrates that despite their leader being deaf and blind, profits are being made, highlighting how this program has actively engaged and evolved every individual. Initially, we received 2 billion and 650 million Uganda shillings. Each constituency received 530 million Uganda shillings. I would like to express my gratitude to this platform for providing us with the opportunity to share information about the Emyuga program. Our special thanks go to the President for initiating the program, and additionally, I would like to mention that there are numerous similar projects in Rubare and Ntungamo.
All right, good morning again. Many thanks for sticking around to UBC Good Morning Uganda. It's time for the GMU Business Update, and I'm Jerome Paul Sonko. Well, as it continues to shower rainfalls of blessings in the country, the business community would definitely be very happy about this particular information coming in from the Uganda Bureau of Standards. Though, for the businesses in the country that are operating outdoor, rain is not doing them so well. But in regards to Uganda's inflation, according to what the Uganda Bureau of Standards, rather statistics did reveal on Friday, the 29th of September, is that Uganda's inflation has further slowed down in the month of September as we kick it off here in October. Inflation slowed sharply in September with the headline indicator falling to a 22-month low according to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. And of course, the headline inflation, for example, which is currently standing at 2.7% or stood at 2.7%, that is in the month of September. And of course, this is down from 3.5% in the previous month. Now, when you look at the main contributor to the decline was core consumer price inflation, for example, which fell for the 8th consecutive month to 2.4%. This is down from 3.5% in the year to August. Now, the core inflation measure is preferred by policymakers because it does strip out volatile food and energy prices, since the index is well below the central bank's 5% target. Now, the Monetary Policy Committee, which will meet this particular month, is expected to maintain caution towards its current expansionary policy, which policy is in line with its traditionally conservative approach. Now, looking at the residential properties price indices and inflation for the first quarter of 2023-2024, the annual inflation as measured by the residential property price index for the fourth quarter of this particular financial year 2023-2024 was registered at 5.7% compared to minus 7.6% registered in quarter 4 2023 to 2024. Now, this is attributed to an increase in the inflation of residential properties in Kampala and Makindye. So in Kampala and Makindye, we've actually come to realize that there is an increase in residential property. How much you can buy, for example, a piece of land, how much you can buy an acre, a hectare, or how much you can actually buy, let's say, purchase a house or an apartment. This has as well increased in the month of September. This is according to what the Uganda National Bureau of Statistics, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics rather, I don't want to confuse here with the UNBS, the UBOS rather, registered in quarter 4. Now, properties in Kawempe and Rubaga and Nakawa increased to 2.8 and 0.6% respectively for the year ending Q1 financial year 2023-2024. So steadily, when you look at the residential property and the inflation rising, of course the contribution, or this is actually when you look at Kampala metropolitan and of course Makindye, this is where most of the residential properties have increased, definitely. Now, summing up with the business update of the day, we now look at the forex market as the business opens up Monday, as the forex market do reopen on Monday. Let's first of all check out and see how they were closing up by the time we entered into the new month of October. Now, the US dollar was buying at 3,751.21 Ugandan shillings, while selling at 3,761.21 shillings. On the other hand, it closed at 3,752.96, while if you were selling, it was at 3,762.92. Now, buying of the Great Britain pound was at 4,589.87 shillings, while selling at 4,602.10. The euros, on the other hand, was buying at 3,972.13 shillings, while selling at 3,982.71 shillings. Then the Kenyan shilling, on the other hand, was buying at 25.33 shillings, while selling at 25.39 shillings. And then the Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.49 shillings, while selling at 1.50 shillings. Then the South African rand at 198.55 shillings, while selling at 199.08 shillings. Of course, there will be some slight changes by the time the forex market is operating this morning. And now we head to the press review, where we first of all revisit our local dailies in Uganda. The New Vision kicks it off with a headline: Cabinet approves more parish development model funds. Now, each beneficiary is to get 1 million Ugandan shillings as more money is released. Also, another report: doctor linked to terrorism dies in Australia. The New Vision is giving you more details as well. Now, Uganda at 61, how the COB found its way on the coat of arms. You can read more of the same with the New Vision today. Furthermore, the collapse of Tycoon's world fence prompts inquiry, a pictorial of that particular incident. It was as well trending on social media all over the weekend. Now, why President Museveni wants cap on money lenders' interest rate. You can read more of the same with the New Vision, as First Lady welcomes new UNICEF Regional Director. Details of the same with the New Vision today. Now, moving forward, the Daily Monitor with the headline: how the Uganda Wildlife Authority officials ate gorilla billions. That is according to what the Daily Monitor is showing. Now, in the healthy living perspective, are you sexually active? Here's how to avoid pelvic diseases. You can read more of the same with the Daily Monitor. Now, other stories: Owundo gets second term as Uganda Law Society president. Kasese needs affirmative action, says the First Lady. And then public hospitals warn against post-mortem fees as controversy followed Dr. Chiyingi to death. The Daily Monitor gives you more details as stop advertising the DNA services, the government cautions. Now, crossing the borders away from Uganda, we look at the East African newspaper. The headline for the East African newspaper says, to leave or not, Somalia mission left in a flat spin. Read more of the same in there. Now, the East African integration test, the Pamoja bid, is testing the East African countries that are slated to host the AFCON Camp 2027. Now, in the money perspective, alarm as Port of Mombasa in a spiral. And then in the markets, how investors lost $5 billion in East African markets. Then in the regional outlook, Africa's new market for spying tech as swimming in Kampala roads. More of the reports regarding flooding as the rains continue in Uganda. Now, in the magazine, Zimbabweans truly need new names. Bittersweet side of the Ugandan oil and gas. More of the same with this East African. Tanzania goes for Plan B and in SGR project. More of the same is with the Daily, rather with the East African. Now, still furthermore, as we cross the borders, the Daily Nation, death on campus. a report in relation to students that have been killed or dying at university and different colleges. I'll transform Kibera in 10 years, declares President Ruto as he roots for his housing plan. Now, 6 in 10 Africans living with diabetes not aware of their condition, according to a new study. Now, it's a field day for 5-star Kenyans in Latavia, outing in the sports perspective. Now, not only that, as we now sum up with press review, we now head to Tanzania. The Citizen newspaper. Traders count losses in new Karayoko fire. Wow. Then the United Arab Emirates' best universities will be in Tanzania. When is that? More of the same with the Citizen newspaper. Now in sport, CAF League history as Yanga and Simba reach group stages for the Confederations Cup and the CAF Champions League. NMB set to boost diaspora remittances as how local content can stem illicit financial flows. More of the same with the Citizen newspaper. Of course, that is it for what is making headlines at the front pages of the locals in Uganda and of course across the East African community. And well, over the weekend was also the independence of Nigeria, surprisingly. So a happy Independence Day to all the Nigerians living in the country as well as those across Africa. But now it is time for us to check out what is happening within the traffic flow of Kampala. It is time for the traffic updates.
Thank you so much, Jerome Paul Sonko. But I wonder, why are you surprised that Nigeria was celebrating its independence over the weekend?
No, I'm not really surprised, but
it's surprising.
I've seen a notification here. And of course, Nigeria has a lot of presence in Africa.
Yes, and in Uganda really. Here.
Yeah.
Yes. But anyway, this is the time where we delve into the traffic updates. My name is Olive Monica Najima. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, if you are traveling from the ends of Hoima Road heading to the side of Bakuli or Makere Hill Road, we are going to pick up the traffic updates from Nankulabye, and we will start right before the intersection that has the traffic lights. Now, as you can see in the middle of Nankulabye, right there where there is Total, there is a deep red zone indicating that there is intense traffic in this spot of the road. But as you approach the traffic lights, it lets up a bit. Now, if you're going to the areas of Balintuma Road, you're only going to encounter traffic right at the intersection as you join Balintuma Road from the traffic lights. And if you're going to the side of Bakuli, there you're going to find a little bit of a delay because there are those orange zones you can see on your screen indicating that there is slow movement there, and there is actually a traffic build-up and a deep red zone still on the road that goes to Bakuli from Nankulabye. So around there you're going to be delayed even as you approach that other intersection that takes you to Chadondo Road and of course to the other side of Bakuli and cuts through and takes you to Mengo. Yes, you're going to encounter traffic jam on both ends of Chadondo Road and of course along Hoima Road as you head to the side of Bakuli. But the good news is after this intersection you will be able to move smoothly, because when I look at what the map is showing here, there is smooth flow of traffic after Chadondo Road, after the intersection there near Ambia's discotheque. But then you will still find a traffic jam at the intersection in Bakuli as you join Namirembe Road. Here there is a huge red zone right after the traffic lights along Namirembe Road that might delay you for quite some time, because from what I'm seeing here, it becomes then a deep red zone on Fort Road that joins Old Kampala. Now, if you're going that side, yes, you have to plan your route very carefully. Though I know this area and there are not so many feeder roads, you'll find that you have to use the same roads in as much as at the moment there is huge traffic that side of town. But now I would like for us to go back a bit behind and see what is happening along Makere Hill Road as you're coming in from Nankulabye going to the side of Wandegea. I would like to know what is happening there in case that's where you are headed. Now, like I said earlier, around Nankulabye, there was traffic around the traffic lights, but that must have gone down by now, because one thing I realize about traffic in the morning, every minute counts. You can easily lose time in just 3 minutes. Before you know it, you're late. Before you know it, there is now huge traffic, and you can't be able to move from one place to another. But for now, I want us to also look at Bulange Road, which also comes and feeds into Canon Apollo Chivebulaya Road. There is traffic there. If you are looking at your screen, you're going to find that there is huge traffic between the intersection of Bulangewe Road and Canon Apollo Chivebulaya Road, joining Albert Cook Road. So if you're coming from that side, all sections of the road are cramped this morning. You're going to encounter huge traffic. Now, if we look at other roads around the area like Sentema Road, there is a traffic build-up there, and of course it later becomes a huge red zone. That is Sentema Road as it joins Albert Cook Road. So if you're coming from that side, please note that you may be held up for a bit as you try to cross through and go wherever you are going. Now, looking back at Albert Cook Road, around the intersection that joins Zake Road, there is a deep red zone there along Zake Road, which now feeds into the Albert Cook Road. So if that's the side you're coming from, unfortunately, you might be held up for a bit. So now moving along and going ahead, looking at the areas of Rubaga Road, there is smooth flow of traffic this morning around that area. Surprisingly, Nabunya Road looks okay, and the other roads that are joining the main Rubaga Road also seem to be very okay this morning. There is smooth flow of traffic along that area, but of course, as Rubaga Road joins the roundabout, the Kabaka's roundabout there, you'll encounter some bit of traffic, but not so much to worry about. Well, that's it for our traffic updates this morning. My name is Olive Monica Najoma. Thank you so much for watching Good Morning Uganda. Thank you so much for keeping it at the national broadcaster, which is UBC. Now, coming up is Agenda, and later on, Ruben Impima will be coming to you with sports updates. It is still Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
My name is Atube Richard, a member of a group called Kanyope, located in Bungatira sub-county. This group started in 2008, but the Prelnol project started supporting us in 2009. The project has offered us training on farming, and the training we got has helped us immensely. We used to farm in a traditional way, planting a variety of crops. But when the team from Prelnor approached us, they asked us to choose particular seeds to grow which can yield very well in our area. We chose groundnuts and rice, which we are growing. With this kind of farming, the project also taught us how to sell as a group after finding a market. The support from the project has been so good to us.
Did you know that Dr. Apollo Milton Obote led Uganda to independence in 1962? Born in Akokoro village in